This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Hey everyone, welcome back to Reissued. If you're new here, my name is Andrew. Today we're going to be transforming some basic IKEA frames, drawing inspiration from vintage and thrifted frames. Now, if you're a regular here on my channel, you know that I'm a bit of a frame hoarder and that I love vintage frames and then I pick up beautiful frames anytime I see them at the thrift store. But if you need a specific size frame, or if you're not finding any good frames at the thrift store, or if like me, you have a bunch of old IKEA and or Michael's frames on hand that you don't really know what to do with, but you don't really want to get rid of, I'm going to show you 5 techniques to make those frames look a little bit more custom and a little bit more unique and to fit more of a vintage eclectic vibe, which is my vibe. I can't wait to get started today. Let's jump on in. So you know that I hoard vintage frames. I'm always looking for wood frames, brass frames, anything that has a luxe material or kind of a unique look. But you may not know that I also have a pretty significant stash of old IKEA and Michael's frames. I was gonna declutter these entirely, but you know I can't get rid of anything and that I want to make use of anything that I have. And now I have some smaller pieces of art that I want to frame, and I think these might be a good fit. So as I mentioned, I have 5 techniques that I'm going to show you, ranging from the really simple and like eye roll, seen it a million times kind of place, moving towards something that's a little bit more unique and that I haven't seen done before. So for technique number 1, we're starting with spray paint. I know, giant collective eye roll, but this is going to act as a base layer for some of my other techniques, so I thought I would go ahead and include it here. I started to give my frames a light sanding with the high grit sandpaper just to make sure the paint was going to stick, but then it seemed like it would scratch the surface up too much, so I opted to just wipe them down instead. I did end up sanding one of the frames that I had previously painted with the brush to try to remove any major brush strokes or pools of paint. This is exactly why we want to use spray paint. We want the finish to apply quickly and evenly, so spraying is way more effective than using a brush. I'm spraying the first frame in a satin black finish to even it out and offer a smoother look. The second frame gets a coat of almond enamel. This one's super glossy, so I want to be sure to saturate the whole frame at once to keep the finish even. We often think of spray paint as a way to change the color, but it's also an opportunity to change the finish. A matte finish can look really chic and understated, and a glossy finish can be kind of unexpected and luxe. The last 2 frames are getting a metallic gold spray, only along the inner rim. We'll cover up the rest later. This can was running low, so it was tougher to spray on the flat surface like this, but we got there eventually. While we leave these to dry, let's move on. Hey y'all. I'm currently sitting here editing this video. If you watch my behind the scenes video, you know that I spend way too much time editing. That's why I'm currently taking a class in Adobe Premiere Pro on Skillshare so that I can speed up my editing process and get these videos out to you faster. Skillshare is the sponsor of today's video and is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes in DIY, art, design, productivity, and so much more. Whether you're turning your passion into your career like I am, building specific skills for your job, or just stepping up your game in your favorite hobby, Skillshare can help you take it to the next level. As a new member, Skillshare asked me about my goals and interests and immediately gave me tons of recommendations tailored to my needs. You can also just search for anything specific that you want to learn about. Or you can utilize learning paths, which are sequential class collections curated to help you master a specific skill. The class that I'm taking right now is fun and engaging and is teaching me so many things that I wish I had known in my last 5 years of editing, so don't waste as much time as I have. The first 500 people to use the link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. It's always the right time to learn something new, so get started today. Speaking of which, everyone has been telling me that I need to try Rub and Buff. I know that I'm super late to the party on this one, so many of you who've seen this before, this is my first time using this product. So for technique number 2, let's go ahead and give this a go on these silver metal IKEA frames. I bought a pack of 5 since I wasn't sure which gold would be the right tone, and after a little testing, I decided on the one called Antique Gold. I guess I just rub and buff, right? I found it hard to apply this very evenly. After 1 coat, it looked a little patchy, and 2 coats gave a more even color, but still a pretty uneven finish. Honestly, I think spray paint would have been better on these frames, but we'll go with it. However, Rub and Buff was the perfect thing for adding a bit of depth and contrast to these little corner brackets that I'm going to use for technique number 3. They weren't showing up as much on the black frame as I'd like, so I wiped whatever I had left on my rag across the top and achieved a really nice aged brass look in seconds. Sweet. And now that brings us to technique number 3. I found these little metal corner brackets on Amazon and thought they would be amazing to add some vintage vibes to my black and almond enamel frames. Kind of a campaign style or tansu vibe, right? I'm definitely taking some inspiration from the campaign dresser that we thrift flipped last year with the almond enamel paint and the original brass hardware. I specifically purchased pieces that came with the little nails included, so let's nail them in. This process was a bit tricky, not gonna lie. I didn't have a drill bit that was small enough for these tiny nails, so I got a hole started by pushing in a thumbtack as far as I could, placing the nail in the hole, and trying my hardest to make the nail go in straight. This took a little practice, but eventually I got it right. Just be sure that you push the tack in as straight as possible to start, otherwise your nail will follow whatever angle the tack went in and could come out the side. I had that happen once and had to remove the nail, redirect the hole, and insert the nail again. Not a huge mistake, but it did leave a tiny hole in the side of my frame. Let's add the larger plates to the almond colored frame. I wasn't too careful about measuring or product dimensions when I ordered these, but if you're looking to add corners to a specific frame, be sure to measure. These were too big for my old IKEA Ribba frames, so I added these to one of my Michael's frames instead. Now let's move on to the other frames that I halfway painted in gold. My plan for technique number 4 is to wrap these in iron-on walnut veneer that I had left over from the bathroom vanity. I've been on the banding train lately, I'm loving it, so let's give it a go here. You can get this in many different widths, but the 3/4 inch banding I have on hand is not wide enough to cover the top edge of my frame, hence why I started with the gold spread. I'm thinking that we can do the outer edge and the wood banding and leave a little gold inner rim, kind of like these vintage thrifted frames that I pick up whenever I see them. I start by cutting a piece roughly to length so we're not messing with the whole roll at once. Then I want to cut one edge on a 45-degree angle since I think that mitering the corners will look the best. I place my ruler, lining up the 45-degree angle line, and use my X-Acto knife to make the cut. Then I place the angled edge to line up with the corner and iron it across with my iron on the cotton setting, which is the second hottest setting on my iron. I stop before reaching the corner and can now cut my other corner angle. Let's lock this in with the iron. Now we can repeat this process all the way around. Keep in mind that the stuff wants to slide around a bit until the glue cools, but that also means that it can be heated up again and repositioned if necessary. That helps me to adjust the corners and get them as tightly matched as possible. Now let's repeat this process on the sides. The sides of my frames are a lot thinner, so I cut off the excess by running the blade down the side along the edge of the frame. I finished this by lightly sanding with the high grit sandpaper to kind of meld everything together and to remove any excess glue that seeped out. Since the clear coat I put on the vanity didn't darken the banding much, I opted to stain it this time with Early American stain. And with that, these are done. I'm using a couple of my art cards as models for the painted frames. These are mixed media pieces that I created a couple years back and had printed onto blank cards. I have little bundle sets with one of each card available for purchase on my website. Each card is stamped and signed by me, and is such a beautiful way to write a nice note and give someone a great piece of frameable art in the process. I send these as cards and thank you notes all the time, and now you can too. I'll link them down in the description in case you want to check them out. As I mentioned, I love when beautiful visuals and sentimental moments can combine. So for the wood frames, I'm framing this art card that was sent to me years ago by my grandma, and still has the picture of us that she sent with it inside. And then I'm also framing this opening night note from the conductor from my first big opera dance gig 10 years ago. I thought that writing a note on the top of a photocopy of the marked up score for the dance section was such a smart and impactful visual and brings up great memories. And finally, for our fifth technique, I'm going to be covering some of these white IKEA Veneer frames in fabric. I'm taking inspiration from this little frame that I thrifted last month. I can't say I'm loving the little bow, but I think the way the taffeta fabric is hugging all the grooves of the frame and offering an element of softness is super beautiful. I raided my fabric stash looking for fabrics that will have a bit of sheen and maybe even that duotone effect that comes with some silks and taffeta fabrics. I think that will highlight the lines of the frames and create some contrast. These all look workable, but I'm thinking that these three little pinups that I got at an antique store in Stillwater last year might be a good fit, so let's embrace those colors. We have an aqua tie silk that's a family heirloom, a brown taffeta from the clearance section at Joann, and a burnt orange silk that I got with Matt in a clearance bin at a fabric store in Atlanta a couple months ago. I cut out pieces from each fabric that are an inch or so larger than my frames. This is a great application for those little bits of leftover fabric that you don't want to throw away, but that you don't really know what to do with. Now let's experiment a bit. Spray adhesive seems like the right way to go, but I've never used it before, so this might take some trial and error. I started with the clearance brown taffeta since that was the least precious fabric, and I'm glad I did because it took a few tries. At first I tried spraying directly onto the fabric. This worked okay as long as I was able to keep the spray in a very fine mist so that it didn't seep through the fabric. This stuff dries clear, but like most fabric glues, it darkens the fabric significantly for like a permanent wet look if it penetrates the fabric too deeply. Take 2 went better, except that I once again tried to add more spray adhesive after applying the fabric and got a big patch of darkness on the front. So for take 3, which worked, my strategy was to first cut a hole in the center of the fabric since it's going to be tough to do so once the fabric is stretched tight. Then I spray the frame super thoroughly, leave it to get tacky for 30 seconds to 1 minute, and then work quickly to press it onto the fabric. I immediately work to press it into all the grooves, running my fingernails along the grooves to get all that beautiful definition. This stuff is supposed to be repositional for up to 10 minutes, and I found that meant it was removable for that period, but not that it remains sticky for that long. So we need to get all the key areas to adhere as soon as possible while it's still sticky. I cut an X in the center so that I could wrap the inside corners. This left a little bare gap in the very corner that made my perfectionist brain crazy, but let's go with it for now. Once everything is pressed down, I leave these to dry for a bit. Then I cut off the excess fabric and use a hot glue gun to secure the fabric around the edges. These glue lines don't look great, but we won't see them on the back. Now is a good time to mention that if you're concerned about the preservation of your artwork, you want to be sure that you're using acid-free adhesives. This hot glue is not acid-free, and the spray adhesive was listed as photo-safe, but there were other adhesives that were specifically listed as archival or acid-free. Preservation is not my top priority this time, although the tape that I'll apply later directly to my artwork to affix it to the mats is archival and acid-free. For the corners of the frames, I made a neat little hospital corner and put the extra fold along the top and bottom of the frames since I felt like that would be less visible than it would be on the sides. To finish up the frames, I used matching shades of craft paint to clean up the pesky exposed corners. since I felt that the white would stand out too much on the finished look. I'm just learning as I go here. If you feel like you have a better suggestion on getting the corners right, be sure to let me know in the comments. Since my pinups are an odd size, we'll need to make custom mats here for 2 of the pieces. I followed the same process here as I did in my thrifted framing hacks video, cutting the size that I needed on a leftover sketchbook back. Never throw anything away. I thought it would look cool to cover the mats in the same fabric that we put on the frames. And now that we have the spray adhesive and know how to use it, let's use that. I tried to cut away as much of the excess fabric as possible, but all of these fabrics fray like crazy, and so there were tons of loose threads everywhere. That made it incredibly difficult to get the mats into the frames without the raw edges sticking up under and being exposed. It took way too long for me to get this right, so I would either recommend maybe going in with the tape or some glue to really secure those edges, or leaving the edges a bit longer until you get the piece framed and then cutting off the excess after that. Alright everybody, I'm really excited with how these turned out and I can't wait to show you the finished results. If you love how these projects turned out or you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button. If you're going to try one of these techniques, I'd love to hear about it. Be sure to let me know down in the comments. And if you want to see more DIY projects and check out my home renovation, be sure that you're subscribed. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon.